This unit is called probability distributions. Last unit, we learned about how to find the probability of individual outcomes of an experiment. This unit, we're going to develop models for distributions of those same experiments. And what that really means is calculating all the possible outcomes of an experiment. So we'll start with some definitions here. The first definition is random variable. So a random variable, which is denoted by a capital X, is really the experiment that we're running, or the event that we're running. And what X equals to is all the possible outcomes. So for example, if our event X was the number rolled on a single die, then X could equal 6 different things, right? X could equal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Another example of a random variable would be that X could be the number of hearts in a 5-card poker hand. In that case, then X could equal 0 because there could be no hearts, all the way up to 5 because there could be 5 hearts. Okay. And the random variable, it can be either discrete or continuous. And now what does discrete or continuous mean? A discrete variable has values separate from one another. Okay, they're finite values. Versus a continuous variable has an infinite number of possible values on a continuous interval. Okay, so in other words, a discrete value is going to be skipping numbers, versus a continuous, it doesn't skip from one number to the next, it goes through all the decimals in between. So discrete are usually things that we're going to count. So that could be like the number of hours to the nearest hour that you've parked in a parking spot. A continuous variable could be somebody's height, because you don't jump from being 3 feet to 4 feet. You have to pass through all those decimals in between. Okay, the next thing here is P of X equals X. So what that really means is the probability of capital X, which is our random variable, having a particular value. Okay, so if you saw P of X equals 3, going back to our very first example here, that would have meant the probability that this dice rolled a 3. The next thing we have is expected value. So expected value is the quantity that you expect to obtain if the experiment was performed over and over and over and over again. In other words, it's your expected outcome in the long run. The way we get expected value, which we represent as E of X, is that we sum up all the outcomes, so all the X's, times the probability of that outcome occurring. Okay, so you'd, for instance, take the probability of rolling a 1 and multiply it by 1, plus the probability of rolling a 2 times a 2, plus the probability of rolling a 3 times a 3. Okay, and we'll see an example of this later on when we actually do some worked out examples. So the first example here is to classify each of the following random variables as either discrete variables or continuous variables. So our first example is the number of phone calls made by a salesperson. Okay, so you have to ask yourself, is there a finite number of possibilities? And in this case, there is, right? They either make 1 phone call or 2 phone calls or 3 phone calls. They're not going to make 1.25 phone calls and 1.275 phone calls. Okay, so that makes it discrete. There's specific values that it can take on. B is the length of time that a salesperson spends on the phone. So this one is going to be continuous because they don't jump from spending 1 minute to 2 minutes. They pass through all of the times in between. So that makes it continuous. A company's annual sales. So you have to ask yourself, does it jump or does it move through all the possibilities in between? This one's a little bit debatable. You could say that it is going to be discrete because it's to the nearest cent. Or some people would argue that it's continuous because it doesn't jump, it moves through all the possibilities that there are. It just happens to be to the nearest cent. So I'm going to put continuous, but as with a lot of things, it would depend on how you argued your point. I would accept discrete as well. Okay. Next, the number of widgets sold by a company. This one is definitely discrete, right? You're going to sell, in this case, even whole numbers. So that would be a discrete variable. And the distance from the Earth to the Sun. This will end up being continuous because as we move through the rotation of the Earth around the Sun, then the distance between the Earth and the Sun is constantly changing. And we don't all of a sudden jump a kilometer, right? We pass through all the centimeters and millimeters in between. So that is the difference between discrete and continuous variables. Example 2 here, they're asking us to determine a probability distribution for the sum of the roll of 2 dice. Okay. So we have all the possible sums. We've done this before. And to do a probability distribution, there's really 2 main ways to represent it. There's a chart, and there's representing it using a graph. Okay, the chart's going to be the more useful of the 2. And then if we want you to do a graph, we will specifically ask you to do a graph. So starting with the chart, the first column is going to be the x. So it's going to be all the possible outcomes. So in this case, our x is the sum. So we write down all the possible sums in the table. So 2 through 12 is written there. That is our x. And then the next column is going to be the probability that x equals x. So for each of the possibilities 2 through 12, that is a big X and a little x, it just doesn't look like it. So for all the possibilities 2 through 12, we're going to write out the probabilities. So for the first one here, the probability of a sum of 2, we can read it off of our dice chart, 1 out of 36. And you're going to go through and do this for all 12 of them. Probability of rolling a 3, 2 out of 36, then 3 out of 36, 4 out of 36, all the way down. Okay, and that's for the sums of 2 through 12. The next part we're going to do is the graph. So here's the graph. On the x-axis, I wrote out all the possible sum of 2 dice outcomes, so 2 through 12. And on the side here is probabilities. So since all of our probabilities were out of 36, I went up by 1 out of 36s. And since this is a discrete variable, right, because you're either sum of 2 or 3, never anything in between, then we're going to represent our graph using a bar graph. Okay. So rolling a sum of 2, the probability of that is 1 out of 36. So we're going to put a bar at 2, going up to 1 out of 36. Rolling a sum of 3 is 2 out of 36. And you're going to keep doing this for all 12. And this would be what our graph looks like. So that's another way of representing the probability distribution. And if we see, there is sort of a bell-shaped curve to that graph if we were to draw a curve through all of these bars. And that's actually what we call a normal distribution. It has that bell shape. So that's our first example. Okay, the next example here is a game is defined by the rules that 2 dice are rolled and the player wins the amount depending on the sum of the dice in the table below. So here we have the sums, once again, 2 through 12, and each sum corresponds to a specific winnings. So we see that if you roll a sum of 2, you win $10. If you roll a sum of 12, you see that you also win $10. And we see, in fact, that for most of them, they have a matching pair. So if you roll either a 3 or an 11, you're going to win $9. If you roll either a 4 or a 10, you're going to win $8. So here they are asking us, what can the player expect to win by playing this game? So they're actually asking us for expected value. So to find expected value, first we need to know the cost of the game. Okay, in this case, the game costs $7.50 to play. And we're going to need the probability distribution to calculate the expected value. Because to calculate expected value, we need the outcome, so the x, and we need the probability of each outcome, so p of x. So here are the outcomes. If we're trying to find how much somebody wins, the outcomes are going to be the possible winnings. So here we see in our table they can win between $5 and $10. So those are our outcomes. Now I created an extra column here for event, because for each outcome there's actually multiple events that could get you that winnings, right? To win $10, we already said you could roll either a 2 or a 12. Okay, and each one of those has events that will get you those outcomes. So there are all the possible events. Next we need the probability of x equaling x. So in this case x is the amount of winnings equaling the possible winnings. So the probability of x equaling 10 is going to be the same as the probability of rolling either a 2 or a 12. So the probability of rolling a sum of 2 or 12 is going to be 1 out of 36 plus 1 out of 36, because those events are mutually exclusive. And we're going to do it for every single outcome. So there we have all the probabilities. Okay, so now we have our x column, our outcomes, and we have the probability of each outcome. This next column I've created, it's not actually part of the probability distribution, but I've created it because it's helpful for calculating expected value. Because for expected value, we want to find all the x times p of x's, and then we want to add them up. So for each line, I'm going to take the x, so in this case 10, and multiply it by the probability, so 2 out of 36. And that gets me 20 out of 36. So I'm going to do this for every single row. Okay, so there it is done for all the rows. And now we have all the x times p of x's. So now we can calculate the expected winnings of somebody playing this game. So the expected payout of the game is going to be the addition of all these x times p of x's. So if we add up everything in that x times p of x column, we get 250 out of 36, which is really $6.94. So that is the expected payout of this game. So on average, in the long run, they are going to pay out $6.94 per player. But that's not actually what the player wins. That's the expected payout. To take into account what the player wins, we also have to take into account the cost of the game. So I took my $6.94 and I subtracted $7.50. Okay, $6.94 is positive because that's what the player would gain. $7.50, that's going to be negative because the player loses that when they pay it. So on average, the player is actually losing 56 cents every time they play. So would this be a fair game? It wouldn't be, because the definition of a fair game is that the expected value is 0. So that brings us to question B. What would be a fair value to pay to play this game? So, because you expect to win $6.94, then the value that would make this game fair is $6.94. Example 4 is our last example. A summer camp has 7 4.6 meter canoes, 10 5.0 meter canoes, and 4 5.3 meter canoes, and 4 6.1 meter canoes. Canoes are randomly assigned for campers going on a canoe trip. Show the probability distribution for the length of an assigned canoe. Okay, so just like before we're doing a probability distribution, we'll do both the table and the chart. So in the table, you're going to start by putting down your x, so all the outcomes and the probability. So do that now. So this is what you should get for the table portion of it. We've put all the canoes, the total number of canoes, which is 25, as our denominator, and the probability of getting each canoe is the number of canoes of that size out of the total number of canoes. Okay, next you should do the graph. So here's the graph with all the possible outcomes along the bottom and the probability along the side. Next, try the expected value. And there is the solution.